Thanks very much for the opportunity to present the Emmerson story, and I think a fair few may already know the story, but I'm pleased to be able to give everyone an update of what we've been up to and where we're going with Emmerson and the exciting opportunities in the Tennant Creek district of the Northern Territory. Bit of a disclaimer there, I'm afraid, but you can read that at your leisure. So, what makes Emmerson different, and why Emmerson? There are three main reasons that we are significantly different to most other junior explorers and developers in the district, in Australia. First of all, we have grade. We have not got 1 million ounces, we've only got 987,000 ounces, so not quite 1 million, but the grade of 4.5 grams is a standout grade compared to most other developers in Australia. In addition to just grade, we also have the White Devil deposit, where we've identified in the last year, in fact 9 months, over 611,000 ounces of gold grading 4.2 grams. We've completed a scoping study at White Devil that shows that we have also got scale, which is quite unusual for an opportunity like in the Tennant Creek district, which is predominantly relatively modest sized deposits but high grade. And finally, we've got funding solution in place thanks to our joint venture partner, Tennant Mining, which is a fully owned subsidiary of Pan-African Resources, an African-focused gold mining company producing around 250,000 ounces of gold per annum. A bit of a snapshot of Emmerson and where we are and where we've come from in the last year. It's fair to say we've had a good year. The share price has certainly strengthened in the last year, and that's largely as a result of the action that we have taken and the exploration activities we've undertaken this year. We've got a very supportive shareholder register with 62% held by the top 20 shareholders. So a very solid shareholder base, and a number of them are here today, which is great to see. We've seen our board of directors also being refreshed this year, with Mark Connolly joining us as chairman, and now it's down to a 3-man board: Mark Connolly, Alan Tate and myself. So why have we seen the share price growth? Fundamentally, it's based on the resource base that we have. This is the resource growth that we've seen over time. I joined, I joined right about there in 2023, just before the resource growth really kicked off. When I joined, we had 170,000 ounces of gold in resource, and now, as I mentioned, just under 1 million ounces. And importantly, most of that is in the indicated resource category, so higher confidence resources. We've added 820,000 ounces in the last 18 months, and most importantly, in the last 8 months, we've added 611,000 ounces at 4.2 at White Devil. So, how are we different? We've got a joint venture with Pan-African Resources, as I mentioned, a mid-tier gold producer with most of their operations in South Africa, producing around 250,000 ounces of gold, listed in London, with a market capitalisation of around £1.8 billion, so around 3.5 to 4 billion Australian dollars. As a result of that joint venture, we've got 2 pathways to commercialise any opportunity that we find on our ground. And importantly, there's also a minimum production payment that is due next year, in early next year, which is in the order of $18 million, and I'll come back to that and how that works through later on. So the 2 pathways are through a small mining joint venture where we get a 6% gross, uncapped royalty on any gold produced. But more importantly than that, we also have a major mine deposit joint venture structure where we have a 40% contributing interest in any larger deposit in the field. The field is quite an exciting and high-grade gold field with over 5.5 million ounces of gold having been produced out of the field. Tennant Creek is in the centre of our, in the centre there. Pan-African Resources have built a processing plant. It is already operational and is pouring gold as we speak. And within 20 kilometres of that processing facility, we've got 5 deposits with in excess of 200,000 ounces of reserves that we'll get a royalty from. But more importantly than that, to the northwest, we've got the White Devil deposit. The processing plant, as I mentioned, has already been built, 840,000 tonne per annum. It is producing gold, and first gold was poured in May, and that's a key piece of infrastructure for us to realise not only the royalty from the small mines deposit, but also the White Devil major mine deposit as well. So speaking about White Devil, I didn't think when I joined Emmerson I'd be talking about the highest grade open cut mine in Australia, and that is exactly what White Devil is. It's the highest grade deposit with over 350,000 ounces within the design in Australia. Quite a phenomenal position to be in. So, as I mentioned, White Devil itself is around 48 kilometres to the northwest of Tennant Creek. It's got excellent infrastructure in place. We've got sealed roads, gas pipelines, railway lines, and all of the infrastructure you'd expect from a regional town like Tennant Creek. We have a granted mining lease, and we've already completed a scoping study on the deposit. That scoping study outlined just under 480,000 ounces of gold at 3.6 grams per tonne fully diluted in the mine plans. Just under 380,000 ounces in the open pit, and a further 100,000 ounces from the underground afterwards. It outlined a project that runs for in excess of 7 years, producing 450,000 ounces of gold at an incredibly low capital cost of under $12 million, $11.8 million pre-production capital requirement. And that's on a 100% basis. We only need to fund 40% of that. In addition to that, the financials are quite remarkable. These were done at $5,000 gold price. So with the current gold price in excess of 6,600 Australian dollars, even higher opportunity costs really are, and opportunity is there. Operating cash flow of around 1.3 billion and an NPV on a 100% basis of just under $900 million. So our share of that cash flow is in excess of $500 million, and the NPV 8 is just under $360 million. So a fantastic opportunity for us. Clearly we're making the next steps forward towards feasibility studies, reserves, resource update is imminent. Environmental permitting is well advanced, and the rest of the studies also progressing, and we're aiming at targeting commencement of mining in mid-2026, so not very far away. That's only really the start though. There's a huge amount of upside remaining. We've done about 5,000 metres of drilling to the west of the original pit. The deposit remains open, both down plunge, and there's also a high-grade component that actually plunges back in the opposite direction. You can see it through there with that block model clearly showing a high-grade plunge in the opposite direction to the overall plunge of the ore body. The resource of 600,000 ounces and the historical production of 760,000 ounces outlines circa 1.4 million ounces in the top 450 metres. It is still open at depth, and the Warrego deposit extends to in excess of 900 metres, so there's clearly opportunity to add, at least in my opinion, 1 million ounces, if not more, to this system over time. So how do we fund that? And the answer is quite simply through the small mines deposits where we get a 6% royalty. So just reminding you what they are the number of small deposits close to the processing facility that Pan African owns. We get a 6% royalty on those. In addition to the 6% royalty, we also get a minimum production payment, which is equivalent to 6% of 60,000 ounces, should they not produce 60,000 ounces by mid-next year, and they won't. So we'll get that minimum production payment as well as the royalty on top. This will fund our development of White Devil and ongoing exploration. The royalty itself on the 200,000 ounces that they've already defined at $5,000 gold price is in excess of $60 million of value to Emmerson. At today's gold price, that's close to $85 million. So a remarkable position to be in. So in summary, Emmerson clearly has grade on its side. We have definitely got scale in the form of White Devil, which is the highest grade large open pit in Australia. and we've got the funding in place to realise this opportunity. So thank you very much for your opportunity to present the Emmerson story to you all, and welcome anyone to come to the booth if you'd like more information. Thank you.